Does your beautiful car have a torn seat? It's not so hard to fix it yourself. Most car seats just have 4 bolts holding them in. A bolt just like this. You do need a special socket that looks like this. The size for this one is an E30. Some people call it a Torx bolt. Let's get these 4 bolts out of the way, and then we'll let the fun begin. The good news is we've got the 2 bolts out of the front of the seat. Here's the tip for first timers. You've got to move the seat forward to get to the rear 2 bolts because you can't see them. Get your wrench. There we go. Now we look at the seat belt. The seat belt's obviously attached to the seat in most cars, and we have to figure out a way to get those out. But wait, what's this say right here? It says airbag. That's a big warning. Airbags are explosive devices, and B, they can hurt you. C, they cost a lot of money to replace. So whenever you're working on a seat that has an airbag, before you go too far, you have to disconnect the battery. We'll do that in a moment because we're not disturbing the seat enough to trigger the airbag. Let's take a look at the seat belt. Seat belts aren't always the easiest thing to get loose. In this car, it looks like we're getting lucky. This is the access panel, and look at that. We can get right into the seatbelt and see the Torx head that will let it release. Once you remove the seatbelt holding bolt, the seatbelt just comes right out like this and leaves your seat free and untethered. Next, what you do is you put the seat back so that it'll be easier to get out. You want the seat to be in the middle of the rail that's bolted to the floor. In my experience, people with more experience than me will probably have better advice, but I always try to just get the rails matched up front and back. If your seat has a headrest, we're sure to lower it. Looks like that's as low as this one's going. Here's something to look out for. Sometimes there's plastic fittings like this one that clip onto the rail. Make sure you don't break those or lose them. There's one on this side too. Now be sure to take the ground connection off of any battery to make sure that the airbag doesn't trigger by accident when removing the seat connections. Here's the negative terminal of this battery. It actually used a 7/16" socket wrench and comes right off. So just tuck it somewhere safe that it's not going to reconnect and you'll be fine. Guess what? This Mercedes has 2 batteries. This is the main battery. There's an auxiliary battery in the trunk. This is the trunk, and wouldn't you know, there's an auxiliary battery here. Attention all German engineers. Why would you design this battery to have a different size ground nut than the front battery? That's absolutely ridiculous. Leave it to the Germans. Here's the ground terminal in the back removed. Now, with both ground terminals safely removed, it's going to be less of a risk to trigger the airbag. One of the scariest things is unplugging the wires because the plastic connectors get old and brittle. Here's the big wire that comes out of the floor. There's 3 connectors. 1, 2, 3. Each of these connectors, you pinch on the side and they just come right out. The yellow connector has smaller pinchable things and it comes right out. Now the seat's completely free and unplugged from the car. Get another person to help you just tilt it and take it out the door. To remove the seat, you roll it on its side. Take the lower section slowly out the driver door. Be careful not to let the metal frame hit the steering wheel. You'll probably need a person to help you do this. Now that the seat is out, you can take the replacement bottom and place it on the seat. If you got it from a reputable place, you'll see it has all of the features you need. This one has the perforated holes and is actually real leather. Looks the same or better than the factory original Mercedes. Here's a pro tip. Don't have your wife around when you're doing this, because she'll point out that the new color is different than the old color, and you'll end up spending an extra $150 for a new back as well. So do what you want on this, but if your wife or girlfriend isn't around, you can just replace the bottom and probably be fine. Me, I'm stuck doing both. Pro tip number 2, under the seat's usually a mess. If you've got a helper you need to keep out of the way, give them the smallest, least efficient vacuum you can find and tell them clean up under the seat so it's all nice and clean when you reinstall. Gave you credit there, hun. Here's a couple tips that make a big difference. Number 1, if you've got a helper, every once in a while they might have a good idea. Listen to good ideas. My helper finally had a good idea. She said, let's take the car seat inside so you can work in the air conditioning. So now the car seat's inside. Use some blankets so you don't scratch up your pretty floors. And I've found that a bucket like Home Depot or Lowe's is wonderful to sit on while you're working. Lastly, put the car seat so that you've got a nice view behind it. Every seat's different. This one, a Mercedes seat, happens to be the easiest I've ever seen because the bottom seat is held on with these 2 bolts. One and a little retainer, a bolt, 2 little retaining things that go around this bar. Don't lose those. And there's the second one. Here's the fun part. Now that the seat's free, carefully unplug the wires that connect the lower seat to the lower assembly. Okay, so now we went from the old ripped seat to, voila, the brand new. And if we refer to one of the earlier pro tips, I can tell you that if we didn't take the seat inside into the air conditioning, it would not have gotten done. So sometimes it pays to listen to the assistant. And now all we have to do is put it back in the car. Okay, 30 minutes later, and we have a brand new seat. Looks good as new. Can't even tell that your wife wore jeans with rivets in the back and ripped it up. Just remember, it's easier to replace your wife's jeans than it is the bottom of your seat.